Yes, yes, yes. It is the Cast Worthy podcast, and we are back. I am Big Steve, aka Last of a Dying Breed, on the X, joined by EJ Stewart, perhaps the Savage again, and VP, the King of Research, self-proclaimed, sort of like LeBron. And we're here. It's October 22nd, 1 week before Halloween. Big week in the NFL this week for Vari's team. Uh, NBA starts Tuesday. Um, you know, world is in chaos. Will Smith standing on stage, standing in it with his young lady, Jada Pinkett. Stockholm syndrome, is that would you guys agree that that's what that appears to be?
I mean, good.
Did we
Hey,
start
you
there?
good?
Oh, no, I was just. I mean, I've said from the beginning that I think that they have some kind of arrangement, some kind of open marriage, And funny enough, same topic, just different people. This week, these YouTubers that I watch, like for gambling stuff, they did a video this week that came out. They haven't been on in a while. They usually put out like 2-3 videos a week, and they haven't put anything out in a couple of weeks. And they came back and they were like, "Hey, this time instead of being at the casino, they're like at the crib." And they're like, "Hey, some of y'all may have heard, you know, some photos of old girl got leaked out, da da da." And then she was talking about how some person she trusted, you know, put her stuff out there, blah blah blah, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then old boy jumps back on and he's like, we always say on the channel, we don't talk about our personal lives. Like when people ask in the chat, like, "Hey, are you guys dating?" or like, "Are you single?" Da, 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 and they always say that in the chat, like on the live videos. And they say in this video that they're dating and they have an open relationship. He sees whoever he wants, she sees whoever she wants, or whatever. Sometimes they see people together, whatever. And then at the end of it, I'm pretty sure where it went or whatever. So now that this has happened, we're gonna start OnlyFans.
The only problem with your notion, and always been the only problem, VP, is you say they have open relationship arrangement, but Will is the only one that didn't know that.
That we think.
No,
And,
I mean this is the guy that went on the Oscars and told the world, told Chris Rock to keep his wife's name out his mouth. He's the only one,
right?
who
But
clearly doesn't know.
I said it at the time. I said it last week when it was just me and Steve. These folks are trained actors. You know what I mean? So like, it's not beyond them to be putting on for the public.
So we only believe. So basically, we only believe Jada's role in saying that we haven't been married since X, Y, and Z. It just, none of it makes any sense. You know what I mean? Like,
no.
For this guy to continue to publicly humiliate himself for a woman he's not technically with anymore.
So two things on that. One, the Jada side of things, right? That kind of leans into my own bias, right? This is what I believe. And so I look at the stuff that's presented in the public eye from that light, right? And I could be wrong, but my own bias skews my opinion a little bit on this situation. To your second point,
just this situation.
to your second point about Will publicly embarrassing himself, da 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 da. I know that that there are subs out there all across the world. You know what I mean? Like you have people out there who literally like to just give their money away. You know what I mean? Like I forget what they're called. Like the people who just they don't get like dominated in any kind of way from a dom. Like their whole thing with domination is just being financially dominated. You know what I mean? So this like public embarrassment kind of thing, you know, if that's some shit that he's into, you know, I'm not saying that he is, but I'm, you know, this shit exists, you know.
This nigga's crazy.
Look, Leo, look what we've come to. Like Will Smith is fulfilling a fetish now after being married for 20 plus years.
I'm not saying that he is.
Like,
yeah, Will Smith's a hero.
How about we just
Will Smith's a hero? He deserves better than what you trying to make him out to be.
I'm not saying that he is, EJ.
He making him out to be some type of fucking
freak
simp. He got him like he just like
but
like he be home jerking off to
but
Jada.
Here's the thing though, right?
Here's the thing. I said Jada.
VP said he
here's the thing though, right?
Home watching interviews like, oh, embarrassed.
But here's the thing though, right? And it kind of goes back to something that I talked about. It kind of goes back to like what I talked about with EJ when we talked about like, you know, the comics introducing
feminism right here.
Like when we talked about the comics, like introducing, you know, gay characters and things like that, right? And I've since actually, I don't know if I told EJ this, but I actually changed my stance on this or whatever. You know, like when people want to go to the movies, they want to be entertained. They're not looking to be preached to, you know. I don't like there's nothing wrong with like putting messages in movies or whatever, but like you don't got to beat people over the head with it all the time. You know what I mean? But anyway,
Disney's been doing that.
Yeah, you did, and I've come around to your point of view on this. I don't have a problem with them doing it. Well, I'm just kind of making a tangent, just going back to my main point or whatever. But my main point is like when I made the point about them putting gay characters in like a hero movie,
everything,
right? But what we have to think of is that in a world where, you know, homosexuality exists, right? You have to assume that there's gonna be some hero that is potentially gay or lesbian, right? Some NFL player, some basketball player, baseball player, whatever. You know what I'm saying? And just because of society, those things are kind of tucked away. So that same thing should be assumed when you talk about high profile people when it comes to, you know, like stuff like what is it called? BDM? I think it's, yeah, right.
You know what it's
BDSM.
called. You see this motherfucker.
No, I can't remember the acronym.
What is it called?
I was gonna say dominatrix or whatever. But
yo, this dude.
But you know, when it comes to the BDSM space, right? We have to assume that they're high profile people that are into that shit. And EJ, the last point I'll make on this is something that you probably saw personally in your neck of the woods. Remember in the mid 2000s when the whole DC Madam thing came out and they arrested her, the FBI, and they found all those congressmen and senators and governors like information in her Rolodex of clients or whatever. You know what I mean? So, you know, we have to assume that people at high levels, whether it's, you know, politicians, you know, rich folks, CEOs, actors, whatever, are engaging in this type of activity.
Florida governor candidates.
No, yeah.
The only thing is that it doesn't fit the profile of it being covert and in their own safe space. What happens to this man, once again, is public. It's on display. It's shame. It just doesn't make any sense time and time again. It just doesn't. And we have to just at some point, especially when it continues to go back to her and her discussion about Tupac and everything, this is the show. It has nothing to do with Will.
I got a theory. It's one of two things. One, she has something on him. Like she got something on him that's like maybe we'll be getting, you know, like VP was talking about, you know, superheroes, and you got to assume that they're out there, right? So our black actors, you got to assume that they might be into some wild stuff, right? Or she just got that fire. Like maybe Jada just got that fire, like she gets home and will be ready to end it all. Like, listen, we're done. And then she puts it on him and she give him the old rinse cycle, cleans him out, gets the pipes all clean, and maybe, and you know, to your point, you know, she does say we're in an open relationship, we've been separated, and that could mean, right, that could be her waving a red flag saying, hey, we're in an open relationship and I've been letting him get his shit off for years, and you know, maybe we're just not seeing it that way. Like, she might have been letting him getting his smash on since they've been together, and you know, now's the get back for her. Not really to get back, but you can't say shit about this. Like, I've been letting you do this and that. Let me get out here and do my little press runs. I'm not condoning it. Don't get me wrong, but those are what I'm thinking.
Let's just go back, right? Well, once again, it's just crazy how Will becomes the center of all of this somehow, right? But publicly, we've never got
person.
right. We've never got concrete evidence that this man has done anything outside his marriage, right? But multiple times we've learned that Jada has done something somehow, some way. She smashed their son's childhood friend, and the dude made it a public spectacle. Whereas, even in that instance, August exposed that, yo, y'all are into some wild things, but Will doesn't know about me. And so Jada's affairs and businesses or business actions, whatever, spilled over into the public, to where this guy had to then sit in the front of the world on a table talk and cry and look crazy. Then, as they're enjoying the Oscars, their good friend Chris Rock makes a joke to where no one has a problem in the audience but my separated wife Jada. So I go up there, I march up there, and I slap this man, and then I say, keep my wife's name out of your mouth. And then months go by, silence, fake apologies, fake press runs, the whole thing. And now, in the midst of a tell-all book, Chris tried to smash We're Not Together. I was in the car with Tupac. Come on, man. Come on. This is Jada.
Yo,
Jada's got a problem. Yeah, book
came
came
ready
out.
to come out. I didn't know
it's
it was
coming out. The whole run. Yes, the whole run. They're on.
I know this is the
tour.
press run.
No, I mean usually this is like the pre-release tour or whatever.
Oh yeah, but a lot of people, you know,
I know it's coming. I just don't know when.
Right.
The critics and the writers have already got a hold of it, so they've already
they release it to them, to the people who want to interview her. They send them a copy.
So we're getting all of the clip. We're getting all of the juice and the mess from it. You know, Jada's talking about how she sold drugs down here, and you know, Tupac wanted to marry her when he was in Rikers. What?
I'm getting it.
Of course.
The ebook is available at Barnes and Noble for $14.99. Target has it 3.4 out of 5 as Goodreads. Yeah, I'm gonna find this. I'm gonna get the audiobook though, because I'm gonna listen to it on the way to work, laugh, joke, maybe snip it up for the pod. But it's called Worthy. It's called Worthy. And they call it, it starts off as a gripping, painfully honest, ultimately inspirational memoir from global superstar and creator of Red Table Talk. So you already know what she's giving up. You know how she's giving it up in the book. If she giving us this in the interviews, yo, in the book, man. The only thing that bothers me about the books is like when I look at these books is like, remember when Superhead made her book and she didn't really, like, she had some juice that she didn't really put names on. I think she called him Mr. Big or something like that, was one that everybody never really knew. Some people thought it was LL, some people thought it was other people, but like that was the juiciest person in the book. I'm interested in
It was who?
you know.
Who you say it was, VP?
Vari says
I
he
thought it
thinks
was
it was
Shaq.
Shaq, and it's possible, very possible.
I thought that came out. That's why I'm saying I thought it was Shaq.
Well,
nah. Well, I mean, with NDAs and all of the red tape and hush that she would have had to go through. Nah, no names were ever really confirmed. She would have been dead by now.
Gotcha.
It's amazing what sells for women, yo. It is amazing.
What'd you say? What'd you say the book was called?
Worthy.
Oh, I thought it was gonna be something else.
Inspired by the Cats Ready podcast.
How do you want it?
Yeah.
Then
wonder why they call you bitch.
Jada's yeah. Jada's wild, yo. She need to go sit down somewhere, man. She is a wild ass woman. And poor Will, like this guy is just, he's a simp, yo. He came out, he's like, this is my best friend, I'm gonna support her for the rest of our, and it's, like, maybe there's a hidden message in that. Maybe they ain't together, and maybe him saying this is my best friend, he didn't introduce, when he said that, that statement on stage in front of the press, he didn't say this is my wife. He said this is my partner, this is my best friend, and I'm gonna support her, as long as I'm on this earth. Maybe,
I mean, last two things I'll say on this real quick is,
she got super head.
One, to EJ's point about, all this stuff about Will's character and his history and stuff and that kind of thing. We didn't know Tiger Woods was out there running them down left and right until we knew. You know what I'm saying?
But we still don't know about Will.
But that's what I'm saying, though. We don't. And I'm not saying that Will is doing this stuff. All I'm saying is I see what is out there publicly, right? All the stuff from the Jada side.
Well, the Tiger stuff is a legend.
Huh?
It's a legend.
It was a little bit more than a legend.
I ain't seen no pictures.
We saw text messages.
Yeah, I can make text messages. I can make a text message from you right now saying that you signed your house over to me. I got apps for that.
But
I mean, I heard there's apps for that.
but yeah, so we've seen all this stuff publicly from the Jada side, right? Mm-hmm. And we don't see anything from Will. And when I say anything, I'm not talking about like him having any indiscretions. I mean like any kind of response. Like some people be like, yo, this relationship is over. I'm done. I can't do this shit no more. Whatever. You know what I mean? It's almost it's like, he's like, thank you, sir. Can I have another?
Stockholm.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So it has to make me wonder. That's why I come to the BDSM shit when I say like maybe he likes this shit. Maybe this dude gets off on some kind of public humiliation or whatever. You know what I mean? Because I just can't see how, it's bad enough, right? Like there are people who are in relationships where infidelity happens and they stay together, right? It's hard, mm-hmm. but they do it. You know what I'm saying? But for it to be public over and over and over again, like, fuck, man. You know what I'm saying?
I'll go one further and just say what might be more likely than what you're saying is maybe he enjoys the get back more than the humiliation. Meaning I'm getting beat up in the media. People are calling me this, that, the third. I look crazy out here, but I still bounce back every time. You know what I mean? Maybe it's that. Like if I'm thinking Will like something out of it, or he's getting something out of it, that's probably more I'm thinking than him sitting at home like, oh, embarrass me today. Whose interview you got today? You want to do the Breakfast Club? Like, I don't think he's doing that.
But I mean, but there's a reason why that we have a term, called cuts, because this shit exists or whatever. You know what I mean? But I get it that it's hard for us to go there because of him being so famous. It's like, why would he do? You know what I mean? But it's the same thing when we talk about other situations of famous rich people who do the dumbest shit. The Cowboys guy who stole the underwear from Walmart or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, he wasn't making Dak Prescott money, but fuck, you know, he was making at least the league minimum that he shouldn't need to steal underwear. You know what I'm saying?
But why is it though? Why is it right? I just want to know, why is it though, in any other circumstance where a woman is at the center of the abuse and the drama, we automatically just say she's a victim? It's Stockholm syndrome. It's this, it's that. Why? Because Will is a man, and as famous as we know him to be, why is it that he doesn't get the same treatment? And I think that's where we need to begin first before we go everywhere else. Like, society, people need to keep that same energy when you know, women that are famous in the media get cheated on and all of that. We don't say, well, maybe she likes being dumped on in public. We don't, maybe this is her thing. We don't say that. And
Maybe
I'm gonna give you
punched in the face.
50 million reasons. We give 50 million. Why Will ain't saying nothing? Because he stands more to lose financially than anyone else here. He stands to lose the most financially. He stands to lose the most career-wise. He's already taken a hit for slapping Chris Rock. You know what I mean? He's the one with everything to lose in this situation. Everything.
Let me tell you something.
Two things. One, I don't think that's not what I'm saying for sure, and I don't think that's what Steve is saying. I'm not taking Jada's side of it. I'm just trying to theorize as to why Will hasn't done anything about it, right? And when I say do anything about it, I don't necessarily mean he got to come out publicly and be like, all right, y'all, I'm on Instagram Live. I'm canceling this bitch. You know, blah, blah.
What else is he gonna do? What else can he do?
What he could do, the same shit like I talked about when Kanye was on Instagram talking about, I can't see my kids. Go to court. You can file for divorce. You don't got to do nothing public.
Again, that's what I told you. It's not gonna work. That doesn't work for him here. He's got 20-something years worth of marriage to this woman who we can already say is diabolical and maybe holding all of the secrets. He can't do that.
But I mean, even if they don't have a prenup or whatever, I mean, there's obvious infidelity. You know what I mean? Like I'm not a lawyer, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure Will could afford a good lawyer who could get him out of this shit. You know what I'm saying?
He still would lose money. Even in infidelity proven against the woman, he still will lose money. No, it's a fact.
You know what I would say?
It's a fact.
Even outside of all of that, I think this is a prime example. Like, to VP, you know, to counter what VP is saying, he thinks that he just puts up with it, he likes it, whatever, potentially. My counter to this is a prime example of a woman taking advantage of a man who's a good father, who loves his family, who loves his kids. Because some women just absolutely know that their husband loves and cherishes the family life and the kid, and so much that they just couldn't stand to be away from that family or from those kids, regardless, they're adults, whatever. That is in a good father's DNA, and a good father's toolbox is being there, being available, setting examples, right? He has a son who's not married yet. Whether he chooses to marry one side or the other doesn't really matter. You know, I think he's kind of potentially trying to teach him, like, hey, look, you're going to go through ups and downs. You got to make it work. And sometimes you got to deal with rocky roads. But when them rocky roads become falls down mountains, I think you gotta stand up for yourself. And I just feel like she's taking advantage. I feel like I agree with you to a point, to an extent, VP. I don't think he likes it, but I think he accepts it. I think he's like, listen, man, it's whatever. Like, we see him he came out on Instagram the other day, and he's like, this is my my input. And then he just makes this funny video of him like falling into space and shit. You know what I mean? He could have very easily addressed it at that point, but he doesn't. He's just like, hey, check it out. I'm going to make fun of myself too. And I just, I think he accepts it. And I think there's a line, and maybe we see the line in the sand, and maybe she don't see it, or maybe he didn't draw it. But I just feel like she does take advantage of it.
I mean, it's very likely. It's very likely that what you just said is closer to the truth than what I'm saying. But regardless if it's as extreme as what I'm saying or, what you're saying, right? At the end of the day, the thing that I guess I'm disagreeing with EJ on is that, Will has autonomy here. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
if he didn't like this situation, he could remove himself from it easily. And could there be some kind of financial loss given the disparity in money between the two of them? I think I saw something that said Jada's estimated net worth is like 20-30 million, something like that, maybe a little bit more. I don't know. And Will is like 300-400. Could he stand to lose some money? Sure. But it's not like he don't got a leg to stand on to say, like what she's doing is not right. And it's not in the stuff that we know about what's not right is the stuff that's in the public. Imagine the receipts he got that we have no clue about. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like
But
he can't remove himself from this marriage, if he wanted to.
to your own point against you, BP, there's obviously a power dynamic here. And the only reason we're not treating Will the same way we would treat a black female woman, whatever you want to call him, is because he is a man. There are power dynamics in relationships. Like, it's the truth. The power dynamics in relationships like this. We always say this when we see the woman being cheated on, being mistreated, all of these things. Why don't you just leave? You've been on here defending women when Steve has said that to you. Why don't you just leave? It's not that simple. There's a power dynamic. There's nothing that you can tell me that makes this different for Will other than the fact that he is a man. You're saying he has the power to do something. Maybe in this situation, to Steve's point, there is an element of power and control that Jada has over him that we just don't know. Whether it is a sexual deviant desire or it's just he really feels powerless. Either way, there's a power dynamic where he can't do what he wants to do.
So
We can't ignore that being true.
The last thing I'll say on this is that I met a girl at my work when I first started working at my current job, and she's young, she's like 19, 20 years old. And she
When
sat
you met
her, yeah, and her cubicle's right next to mine. She's talking to me. She's like, I don't understand this guy that I'm seeing, about this kind of shit. And I told her, I said, look, you're young, so let me explain something to you. I was like, a man will feed you as much shit as you're willing to eat. So if you keep showing him you're hungry, he's gonna keep feeding you. And this same shit can be said about Jada and Will in the reverse. Jada is gonna feed Will as much shit as he's willing to eat. And he appears to pull up to the table with his fucking apron bib thing on, knife and fork in hand, saying he's ready to go. And
none of that negates what
sure
I
he's
said,
full.
though. None of that
I'm not trying
negates
to
what I
negate
said.
what you're saying. I'm just saying
But we
that
could say
Will
that about
does not have to be here.
Tell me why this is the case for only Will and it's never the case for the women. Why do we take this posture when it comes to the black man, but when it's the black woman, when it's Bezos' wife, she just can't take it anymore. When it's Kim and Kanye, Kanye's gone too crazy and Kim just can't take it anymore. She just why is Will have so much more power than all these people? He's human.
Because one, every situation has its own set of facts, right? When you talk about no, it's
the goalpost.
The goalpost. No, it's not the goalpost. I'm gonna use the same. I'm gonna use the same examples you use with the Bezos situation. Bezos would cheat on the wife. The wife said, "I'm done with that shit. I'm out." She left. With the Kim Kanye shit, we see Kanye having some kind of alleged public breakdown.
Yeah,
Kim's like, "Yo, I'm not putting my kids in that situation."
Bezos' wife left because it was like billions of dollars involved. So it was a lot easier for her to leave. And then Kim said with the kids, this is unstable. So let me put him around Pete Davidson, a suicidal guy who has no tie to them. What are we talking about?
But look, that part, the bounce back part doesn't necessarily matter in this case. You just said those examples. And whether she left one bad situation and put the kids in another bad situation, that's neither here nor there. The point I'm making is that from the examples that you brought up with Bezos, there was infidelity. The wife left. You know what I mean? She said, "I'm not dealing with that shit." And some people are like that. Like I said earlier, some people are in relationships where they're cheating and they stay and work it out. Other people are like, one and done. I'm not dealing with that shit.
You're right. But again, speaking to Will's point, society in most cases, when the woman is being victimized, whether it's high profile or not, we are quick to point out how they are the victim. When it comes to this 6'2", 200-pound black man, everyone wants to create every other scenario to the point where you said he's getting pegged.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, right? And I think this stuff gets said about women as well, right? You can say women are when women are in, you know, things like when women are in abusive situations, right? You know, people say you need to get out of there, you need to get out of there. And then at a certain point, people will say, look, you know, it's not like this shit is getting better. You need to leave. And for whatever reason, she feels trapped. You know, I get it, right? And while women who are in these like regular financial situations may not see an out, you know, it's not that way for Will. So I guess we have to assume there's some kind of psychological component to it, like Steve mentioned earlier. However, in Will's case, right, he's not without options. If this relationship is toxic to him, he can leave, right? Johnny Depp's wife was shitting in his bed. He said, "I can't do this shit no more," so he left. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah, and even society didn't believe him.
At least they're killing her this time. You know, historically they were just like eating it up. They gave her a show, but now Jada's getting killed. They killing her on the internet. Memes. Black people can't take shit serious, yo. We can't take shit serious, yo.
But I mean, and real quick, Steve, before you transition us, right? Like, I guess the whole thing I'm thinking about, right? And it's like, you've been with this woman for like 20 years now, right? And it's not like this shit just came out of nowhere. Like she's having some kind of
no, damn near 30. Damn near 30 years.
Okay, you've been with her 30
damn
years.
Near 30.
And it's not like this is some kind of midlife crisis thing where she's like, "Oh man, you know, I missed my shot with that one guy I really like." You know, you guys watch Soprano all the time when Carmela always brings up how she could have married that one guy who's like a mechanic now or something, and Tony tells her, "Get the fuck out of here." You know, you like
right
living in this fucking palace I'm providing you, or whatever. You know,
that purse you got, that Benz you got, they ain't no mechanic fucking salary.
Exactly. You know, but it's not like this shit is just happening from the start. Jada has been shitting on Will. I didn't like his music. I love Tupac. Every time she get a chance, Tupac. Will ain't shit. You know, like at this point, to like you're saying, EJ, maybe there's some kind of, you know, thing happening where Will feels like there's no out. But was he feeling like that in the beginning when all this shit was going? You know what I mean?
Whoever feels like that in the beginning of their marriage,
your wife doesn't love you, dude.
Right, and in the beginning of a relationship where somebody's sucking your soul out of you, his soul literally leaves him through his pee hole.
Multiple kids later, like, come on, bro.
I think it's more.
This dude has 30 years worth of marriage equity. You don't think if he takes her to court, that little 20 million she ain't gonna get about 150?
That's the other thing too. That's the other thing. Cheaper to keep her.
It's cheaper to keep her. Will is a classic case. And actually, it's more lucrative for Will to keep her.
And maybe he also thinks it's better to deal with Black Twitter than to deal with you know, the big media if he did go through a divorce. You know what I mean? Like, I could deal with Black Twitter and the memes, you know, making me out to be a cuck like Bari, or I could deal with the big media, you know, making some story and playing it out and calling me an unfit dad and, you know, a failure in my marriage and all of that stuff because I decided to get a divorce or split up. So it could be that. It could be that. And, you know, with that comes the trickle effect. Like, do my jobs get changed? You know, of course it's already impacting him because of the Oscars thing, but even, you know, that's an action of his. I don't know that that's an action of hers. in that sense. But yeah, at least they killing her this time. These women are out here wilding out. It's almost like we got gender role changes. Britney Spears is out there still bugging out, talking about in between her breakup or after her breakup with Justin, she was having wild bear sex with Colin Farrell while he was filming SWAT. Maybe that's why SWAT was so good. He was getting home and Brit, cause she crazy. Like, she crazy. I could listen. I have to only assume that if you crazy like that, like crazy in the head, you got to be crazy in the bed.
That's why Timberlake made a whole album about her breaking his heart.
Right,
Real.
Cry Me a River.
He made some
Right.
bangers when she broke his heart.
Yeah, no doubt. We still haven't forgave her for that, right?
Who Britney?
No, not at all.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
not at all.
I don't. We may have to.
See this guy.
Guy. I was getting ready to try to make a joke out of it. EJ just can't let me run for a second. I was gonna say, his pain was our joy, because that was a fire ass album. You know what I mean?
We did, yeah, we did get the album out of it. We got the album. I think that's when Justin started to turn black a little bit. Like this one,
and I was just about to. I wasn't gonna go there, but I was gonna say, I feel like that album after the Britney thing is what kind of like launched his career like more, because it was like more notoriety because of everything that happened with Britney. Plus the album was a banger. You know what I mean? And then like that's almost like, when he became like JT, you know what I mean?
Yeah. We still haven't forgiven him for Janet Jackson, right?
No, we thank him.
I don't know about that one. I think that was a collab, but I
think
I think it was staged, but I think he threw her under the bus on the back end, and she took pretty much the 99% of all the criticism and fallout.
Well, he had to. She the one with the long money. Bitch, I ain't got
right.
that.
She had Jackson.
I can't survive this.
Right.
Speaking of Jay, I saw a thing on I just saw a thing on, was it IG or was it Twitter yesterday? I meant to post Twitter? It in the chat.
What's a Twitter?
Oh my god! I saw a thing on yesterday with it was like a video of Janet Jackson talking about how when some shit about like when she be performing, she be creaming herself on the stage with the zipper in her pants and shit. I'm like,
wait, excuse me?
Yeah. I gotta find. I thought I posted it in the chat. I gotta find that shit.
Tell me more.
Explain. I mean, she is the one. She is the one that pulls dudes on stage and virtually, has a way.
Hey.
You saying she got the remote control rabbit in there and she just
I don't know what it is. But okay. Yeah, she was talking about that shit. I'm like, yo.
Okay, Janet. I'm not mad at her. So speaking of Janet Jackson, did you guys see the BET Awards at all? Hip Hop Awards?
No.
Yeah, most people
didn't. Here it is. Here, dropping in the chat now.
Most people didn't see it, but after watching it,
found it.
I remember who
real
posted
quick.
It. I just went to their page and scrolled down.
He can't remember Buddhism, but he can remember exactly the algorithm to follow to get to Janet Jackson creaming herself on stage. Okay. All right. Anyway, I watched the
He just said Jesus.
All right, maybe I'll check it out. I was watching the BET Hip Hop Awards, and JD was on there, Jermaine Dupri, speaking of Janet Jackson. And he did his little So Def run or whatever. After seeing it, I think he might be able to stay in the race with Diddy in a versus.
Who that?
Jermaine Dupri.
Oh, okay.
Like his So Def catalog, like and I was like, there was some bops on there. He brought Nelly out. He brought a lot of people out. I thought it was a really good performance. Bow Wow, the Brat. I thought he did well. A lot of people from ATL. Ti came out. It was pretty dope. I don't think he can. I still don't think he can beat Diddy, but I don't know, man. Like after watching that, I think he might have some smoke for him. When you think of that catalog, do you think that JD got any smoke for Diddy?
We always said that he definitely it's definitely not going to be a wash, but these things, as we've seen with Jadakiss, the master of the verses, it's all about how you're going to arrange your catalog and how you present it to the people. It's like almost having a DJ clash of sounds. Is just understanding your audience and how you're going to deliver it, and then the people that he's collabed with and worked with. How many of them are you going to be able out, to come out on stage with you when necessary? That's another thing. So
yeah, and I think definitely for Jermaine Dupri, it's more likely for him to have people hit the stage
versus Diddy, yeah,
versus Diddy, because he's got so many of those relationships that contracts came into play, like getting Mace on the stage. Like the day that Diddy gets Mace on the stage, I think it blows up the hip hop world from at least from a New York rap standpoint.
They did get on stage not long ago. They were on stage not long ago. Mace and Diddy
Performing?
were on stage, yeah, not long ago. Yeah, I feel like it was at one of them shows.
I know when Diddy got his award from I think it was BET, maybe MTV. He had his son come out and rap Mace's verses.
Part, yeah.
But I don't know, man. I'm interested in. I hope that verses does happen. I think it'll be dope. I think a lot of people will show up for it. But just looking back at it, that set was pretty dope by JD, and that was without Homeboy, or without his Mariah Carey stuff. So
yeah, I don't think it would be like a wash, like you said earlier, but I think Diddy probably still would win it. But at the end of the day, it does come down to some showmanship, because another big one I can think of on versus was Snoop versus X, right? We thought that one would just be a straight up classic, you know what I mean? But X was a shell of himself, and Snoop is the ultimate showman, you know what I mean? And just like Kiss, he was able to make it look easy just because he's so much of a master showman, So I think that's what would hurt JD, is just the performance aspect of it, especially because while they're both producers, they've both been in the studio, they've both been in music videos, on stage, et cetera, et cetera. Diddy he keeps himself in the limelight.
He's a master of ceremonies.
Yeah, he's always out there doing things, making the big gesture, making the big quote and things like that. So, and I don't know if JD still got that, given that not necessarily that he's removed from the game, but he's kind of been out of the spotlight, I guess I would say, for a little bit.
No, you're absolutely right. I think JD is a mastermind, a genius in organizing the music and all that kind of stuff, but he doesn't, like you said, Diddy's going to jump around, run around on stage. He's, like Steve said, if he don't have Mace, he going to get his son, who's relevant to the young people, to come out there, do the parts. He still has rights to perform things without these artists. So, you know what I mean? And for people like Steve, he, the big catalog alone, what I mean, is going to be major. So, but I wonder what is going on with Versus though, man, because they've been talking about all the stuff that they had, on the shelf, and we've got nothing yet.
Yeah. I mean, and with Diddy, with the showmanship, I mean, Diddy knows how to get shit trending, social media and stuff. Like I could imagine they're going halfway through the show and people online are saying like, like Diddy's winning, but like not by much, you know, like the people who be keeping scores, you know, unofficial tabulations kind of thing. And then Diddy looks to the side and one of his mans, you know, give him the head nod. And then right before his next song get ready to start, he's like, yo, I'm paying off everybody's student loans in the audience. You know what I'm and then, you know, like, cause you could just see him doing that kind of shit just because like Diddy, he's a showman, you know what I mean? Like he just, yeah, he knows how to work a crowd, man.
He would get my presidential vote if he did that. Oh wait, I've already given that once for that same promise.
Well, I don't mean like America's. I mean like the people in the live audience. I mean, like in the the studio audience, I guess.
Yeah. You know, I guess that's got to be similar to, you know, just the people that have been paying for more than half of their lives that are probably on their way out.
Yeah, because I mean that's what if you think about it, that's what is it Robert Johnson? I can't remember the guy. The EJ, you remember the black billionaire who spoke at Howard?
Rob Johnson,
yeah, Rob Johnson. There you go,
Rob Johnson.
And he did the same thing or whatever. He, you know, he's given his commencement address, and then he announces he's paying off all the student debt for that graduating class. Everybody goes, wow, that shit was in the media for like a week, you know, talking about student loan debt overall and you know what we can do to make college more affordable, da 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 da. You know what was lost during that week though? We found out that I don't know if it was the SEC or the FBI or somebody like that was actually investigating this motherfucker for securities fraud, allegedly. You know what I mean? But we didn't hear about that. You know, because all we were talking about was, you know, so and I'm not saying like Diddy's being investigated. The point I'm making is that if Diddy were to do some kind of master showman shit like that, it ain't gonna be like, man, do you think when JD did So Def that it was not people like, yo, did you hear about him talking about paying off these student loans?
Yeah. I you know, let's be honest, for us as a people, we happy if you just pay our fucking rent for the month. You pay our mortgage for the month, you pay our car payment for the month, we gonna vote you in to or we're gonna say that you were the best president even though you were racist. How many people out there saying Trump was great just because they got stimmies?
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot of black people.
Right. Bring back the stimmies. We need the money. Joe ain't give a shit yet. Partially true though. There is some truth to that.
But you know what's wild about that though, right? And I can see EJ's eyes getting in the ready start position to fire off a massive eye roll. Is that when you add up the stimmies, right? You got more money from Biden than you did from Trump. But on the stimmies, I'm talking about. On top of that, after they did the stimmies, they passed that that child tax credit thing where you were getting the monthly payments or whatever, you know. But yeah, you know, I guess people don't let that facts get in the way of a
oh my god.
No, it's not. Oh my god, it's the truth.
Okay, I'll counter you and say
stimmies, and then afterwards they sent out $1,200 stimmies, and then $600 for the kids again. And when Biden sent out stimmies, they were $1,400 across the board for adults and kids, plus the child tax credit payments that you got for a year of $200 to $350 depending on the age of your child.
Did everybody get those?
Right.
So. Yeah, everybody who made less than $100,000.
Right.
That's not everybody.
That ain't everybody. Because Trump gave it to everybody.
Right. EJ
That's not true. That's not true.
Yeah.
True.
I would challenge that by saying that when Trump gave his stimmies out, I wasn't paying $14 for a gallon of milk. That's my challenge.
You still don't pay $14 for a gallon of milk. But I get your point.
It's a great economy. You want 12 eggs? That'll be $15. Like listen, man. I get it. Trump's a piece of shit.
I'm just saying.
But, from a financial standpoint, we were in a really good spot as people.
I'm just saying that money that's going over to Eastern Europe into the Middle East.
There's no money going there.
all that Eastern
First, let's
Europe.
preface that by
That's not.
saying prayers to those to everyone involved over there, all the innocent people at least, because like I'm looking at the internet, and we know though. I think people have forgot about Ukraine. Listen, man, people forgot about
That's what I was
Ukraine.
talking about.
People forgot about Deion Sanders. Like you're not hearing none of that. All you're hearing is America hates Jewish people. Or no, what is it? What it's the other way around. America loves Jewish people, right? I guess it depends what side you're on. As I look at the internet and I'm reading through different people's takes on it, you got some people that are on one side, some people that are on the other side, and we just find a way to stick our fucking noses in everything. Like it's just so crazy. Like if the two of you are fighting in the street, I'm gonna probably make sure that I don't get no parts of it. Like it's none of my business because I could catch a stray. I support you and I support you. That's it. I don't gotta get it. I don't gotta jump in and punch Vari and then turn around and kick EJ in the leg. Like it's just I just feel like we man, it's crazy, man. Nonetheless, man, hopefully it's just sad seeing whatever side you see videos from or images from of innocent people, children and adults, taking their last breaths. Like this shit, first of all, that shit shouldn't be on the internet. Like we are so desensitized as a people. This is why shit is fucked up. Because you can open up your phone and you can see somebody take their last breath. Like because you're scrolling and somebody decided, I need clicks. Sean King. Like he's out of control.
I mean, part of I agree with you and I somewhat disagree with you, right? And a lot of people will tell you that they think that America's view of the Iraq war changed when they started seeing, like you had these reporters who were embedded with infantry units, and you're seeing videos of Humvees rolling down the street, and then the ID blows them up, and you're seeing, pictures or video of people who were, either wounded or killed in action, and it started making people say, like, is this worth it? I get the whole WMD thing, but one, we haven't found anything yet. And I'm not sure if I'm necessarily even believing that anymore. I never believed it, but but now, even if I did somewhat believe it, is it worth it? And sometimes it may be important for people to see the cost of war to get people active in their own governments, whether it's a war that we're participating in or something, happening in another country for their own citizens, to see what's happening in order to say to their government, like, this is not what we want. We don't support this or whatever. You know what I mean? It's war's ugly, so we can't like pretend that it's not,
Those other countries aren't they're not structured like the United States though. Like in most of those other countries, they can't just write a letter to their congressman or to their, senator and say, hey, by the way, maybe we should stop bombing so and so. Maybe we should stop killing innocent children. You know what I mean? Like I don't think that I get the visibility of it, but I think there's levels to it. And I think at some point enough is enough. Like every day you see this stuff, and it's one thing to see the bombings, it's one thing to see what's going on there, it's another thing to see somebody without a limb on your fucking timeline. You know what I'm saying? And here's the thing, you can't even block the shit because it's algorithms nowadays. You know what I'm saying? So it's because you followed X, someone like this, or because you've liked this picture from this person, this meme, whatever it is, you're seeing this now. You know what I'm saying? It's just it's too much. And then the social media platforms are not, to me, doing enough to censor you know the extremities. Like, it's one, I don't think you need to censor what's going on. You don't need to censor opinions. You don't need to censor the protesting, but you should absolutely censor a baby bleeding out. Like,
Yeah,
sorry.
I don't have a problem with that being censored, right? And I'm not even talking about necessarily showing it on social media. I'm talking about like regular media, like news,
Oh, I don't
because
watch
a lot of
news.
times when you see, I'll give an example. In this same story here with what's happening with Israel and Hamas, right? I saw a story on, I want to say it was CNN, and the reporter goes to in throughout Israel, because they have rockets that are launched into Israel from Palestine. They have bomb shelters like throughout the country or whatever, so that way if you're not home, you can just go inside one of these bomb shelters or whatever.
Yep.
And part of this terrorist attack, uh, um, folks went into those bomb shelters and basically slaughtered people. And so the reporter is standing outside the bomb shelter, and like when the video starts, he's like coming out, and he's like, "We're not gonna go in there and show it to you, but I can just describe it, and inside it's just pure carnage, and you're seeing this, you're seeing that, boo, 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 and the aftermath of that, I feel like, is people who saw that story saying, "Man, it's crazy over there. They I saw a thing. They went to this bomb shelter and just like, essentially like executed a bunch of people, man." And then somebody can be like, "Man, that's wild. All right, let me go back to scrolling through some titties." You know what I mean? But when you see this stuff, it could make you have a different kind of reaction to it that's more visceral, that may make you say, I can't just see it and, like a tweet or say something bad about it on Facebook or whatever. This may spark you to want to take action to say, I'm going to call my congressperson or whatever they call their people in their form of government over there, to say, like, I don't want any more of this shit. We have to stop. Maybe it may make you vote different when elections come around, to say, these folks who are in government support this, and I'm not with this shit or whatever, and we got to make a change or whatever. So that's the point I'm making about seeing it. It's not, I don't want to see carnage. I can't stand to see that shit. It turns my stomach when I see it or whatever. But I think it's that kind of reaction to it that makes me feel the way that I feel about it, versus just kind of knowing this thing is happening somewhere and I can just ignore it.
I think it all depends on maybe your generation, your society, and I've talked about this 1,000 times. America's a violent nation. It's built on it. And when you look at the young generation today and all that they have access to, from world stars to watching shootings in their neighborhood, these kids are desensitized, man. And like I've said, our parents, were old enough to hear about the Vietnam War on radio. We were old enough to see the aftermath on the news, and then we were old enough, we were that first generation to start to see it live on YouTube, etc. So yeah, we're gonna feel some kind of way about it, but there's a whole generation of people out there that thrive off this. The mass shooters, they almost use social media to their advantage to carry out their messages and things of that nature. So I think, to Steve's point, and I've always agreed with this, I think as a society, we've allowed too much to be open air. We've taken the idea of freedom too far, and it's like it's that democratic aspect of me to say our government is there in place to ensure that its citizens don't hurt themselves, don't do the wrong things, and I think to some degree, we as a people, as a society, have to say everything ain't for everybody. Even though we know there are a lot of bypasses and ways that kids can get around to seeing things, we got to have that understanding to say it ain't for everybody. TikTok started out as an app simply for children, and now where has it gone? You know what I mean? Now kids literally don't have an app that is simply just for them, without consequence, right? They may have TikTok Junior or whatever things may exist. But these things, because it is what it is now, it bleeds over into their phones and their lives. So, these kids, these teenagers, they see everything, they do everything. I was just talking to my 12-year-old yesterday on the way to the football games, and she's telling me that her 12-year-old friend is, in a drama situation with some young boy because she dates. And it's like, well, why are we letting our kids do these things so early? Why are we letting people have so much to the stuff so early? And I'm totally with Steve. Like, there has to be more censoring to the things that we see, for depending on the audience, depending on who it is and what it is. And VP, I think part of what you said has merit as well, obviously, because we've seen the protests and the things that have come out of it. But we have literally become a society where we'll see a woman yelling and screaming at a dude because he wants to talk about his religious beliefs, and she's gay and she doesn't believe in it. And we'll sit there and we'll watch it. I realize the trauma that we're seeing of this person yell for 2 minutes straight. Like, the shit is all triggering. It's bad. And I think we've become almost that Sodom and Gomorrah or Rome type of place where we just allow everything, and it's bad for us.
Yeah, and then, but I guess on the flip side of it is, I guess where it gets challenging too is when the government comes out or someone comes out and says they want to ban TikTok. Now it's made out to sound like, oh, well, you're against China. You don't like China because that's where TikTok started. Everything is so extreme in this country. Somebody who said somebody that says I support, I stand with Palestine or the Palestinians, you're now anti-Semitic. Like, it's so crazy. You could agree with both sides. Both things can be true, right? You could stand with Palestine and still feel like, Israel deserves better as well, right? Like, there's so much. It's one or the other, and that I guess it's just so extreme, man. It's so extreme. You can't be a free thinker anymore, because if you're a free thinker and you don't think like everybody else wants you to, there's a problem. And no. TikTok, I get you. You're gonna try and make it this Republican thing where it's against China, but no. EJ is absolutely right. TikTok
it's not a Republican thing that I'm trying to make it. The reason that the Trump administration attempted to ban TikTok, and now the Biden administration is attempting to ban them, is because it's in China. The company ByteDance that owns TikTok, part of their corporate structure has part of the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, as owners of the company, and they're required to give data to the CCP and to the government that they get from TikTok worldwide. And the fear is that if you have TikTok downloaded on your phone, and we know how much data that these social media companies essentially are scooping up from your phone, location data, some of them are slaving your microphone and listening to conversations and all that kind of stuff like that. The fear is that data can then be shared from ByteDance to the Chinese government. And if you have government officials who have TikTok on their phone, or maybe their kids have TikTok on the phone and they're in the room while dad's on the phone talking to somebody about his work, or mom's talking to somebody about her work, about some high level shit she does in government. And these kind of things can be captured from like an intelligence point of view. That's the point behind attempting to ban TikTok. It's nothing to do with Republicans or nothing. Like, Republicans and Democrats want to ban TikTok.
How's that any different than Facebook or Instagram or
the
X?
Difference is those are American companies, whereas this is a company that is founded in China and is partly owned by the Chinese government.
I get it, but we've seen data breaches left and right on all of these things.
This isn't not talking about a data breach. This is saying that them essentially saying, the government calls up to, Zuckerberg, if we're talking about Facebook, and says, hey, I need all that data on EJ. And they click a button and hit send. Like, that's what it's not talking about data breaches. It's talking about an open highway. And from news reports that I've seen, it's not even like a request from the government. The government essentially already has a pathway in where they can go in and just get the data themselves. There's no middleman of saying, hey, EJ, send me the data on Steve. I just go in and pull whatever I want.
Well, the difference is that one is China and the other two, where X and Facebook, are American.
Right. I'm not arguing on that. I'm just trying to make the point of why they are talking about banning TikTok.
No, I'm just
it's not about a Republican political thing.
I'm just answering Steve's question to the difference of TikTok. One, TikTok,
right? But the extremity doesn't mean that just because they're concerned with personal information that they don't like Chinese people, right? Like that's what I'm getting at.
That was your original point. But yeah, I mean,
and it's not that, but I understand what you're saying.
Guys like Michael Rappaport, who are on Instagram, like constantly just defending Judaism against everybody that has a point to say Israel has some responsibility here. That's the nastiness. And this guy who's made a killing off of Black culture, brown culture, he's now going on there posting anti-Islamic rhetoric, like bringing up the 9/11 hijackers, all type of shit. And Michael Rappaport, you're a piece of shit. Like you've been trending that way. You said wild shit before, but he's a piece of shit. He's one of those people, Steve, that he will act like he gives a shit about everyone else's cause 207 days of the year, but them other days where it involves his religion is fuck everybody else if you ain't Jewish, pretty much.
He's a Democrat.
The problem, though, is what Steve said earlier, and the point that he was essentially making is earlier when we started this conversation, is that in this country we don't do nuance well. Like you can't, like
that's what I'm saying.
No doubt. But I'm just saying, like people can't look at issues from a nuanced way. You have to feel this way about it, and you got to be 100% about this feeling, and everything else, nothing else matters. And it's why a lot of times when we talk about stuff, like this, I kind of speak on it from more of a 30,000 foot perspective, because there's a lot of nuance in this Israel-Palestine situation. There's a lot of history here, and a lot of people turn the TV on and they see a terrorist attack happen in Israel, and then therefore everything else that's happening is justified without knowing any of the history. We're talking about decades of history that have led us here. You know what I'm saying? And unless we can kind of drill down and know those things, and I don't know it all or whatever, you know what I mean? So we're not going to have a fuller understanding of what's happening with this conflict. It's kind of like Bill Burr said this thing, and I like compare stuff to shit I see in media, because sometimes it's just the analogies work, and he was like, in one of his stand-ups, he said, like, you heard people say there's no reason to hit a woman, and he was like, really? That's just like a total blanket statement. That shit don't even make sense. He was like, I could think of like 20 reasons right now, and he was like, let's say, you came home and the woman like keyed your car, and then she was sleeping with your boss in the house that you bought, and da 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 da. You don't think like something, and then he goes on and he says, if a person got bit by a rattlesnake, right? You wouldn't just say like, there's no reason or whatever. You do an investigation, like, yo, what happened? Why did the thing bite you? Why did the thing get so angry that it tried to kill you? Were you fucking with it? You know what I mean? Like, what's, what I'm saying? So, when you just make blanket statements like that, it kind of just cuts off any debate. There's no investigation of anything that led up to whatever it is to happen, and the world doesn't work like history didn't start on the day that this attack happened on Israel, you know?
Yeah. It's again, like we said last year or last week, you know, prayers or best wishes or whatever you believe in to the innocents that have to deal with it. And that's the saddest part. Like, there's people probably definitely on both sides that are just trying to exist. You know what I'm saying? They're just trying to exist and make it to the next day. And unfortunately, they're impacted by whichever side it is. Like, to me, I don't think you should ever really have to be forced to pick a side to be right or wrong and not be considered a specific type of individual. Of course, it's, you tell me that if someone says, the Palestinian people deserve grace, that makes you anti-Semitic, but on the same terms, you support Trump or something like that, right? Like, it just, does that immediately make you racist? In VP's eyes, it does. But
No.
if somebody has a Trump flag or a Trump bumper sticker, VP is like, Klansman, definitely a Klan.
If you support Trump, I have to assume that you're racist adjacent, at least. It just is what it is.
Racist tendencies. You definitely say the N-word behind closed doors.
Yeah, because but you
scream nigga behind the closed door.
Yeah, it's just because I guess like stuff like that, I look at it from my own point of view, which is obviously how I see most things, or pretty much all things.
Yeah, I think all is the better way to put
it. And I say to myself, like, man, if this person was like this, I can't see myself supporting them. You know what I mean? And I just assume that all or not all, but most people are like that, So it says to me that these folks are seeing these things, right? And let's set the racism of Trump aside for a moment, and although it shouldn't be, but let's just set it aside for a moment. If there was no racism of Trump, but everything else existed, the tweets, the incoherence, the getting into feuds with people over the dumbest shit, the criminality, you know what I mean? And people say, that's my guy. Like, I don't get it, yo. I don't get it's a cult.
I think they feel the same about you or us, right? And I'll give you an example. I'm going to find a way not to be kicked out of the world, but you are heavily in favor of, this isn't going to sound right, but we'll call it gay rights, right? Which you consider gay rights, right? Your path to gay rights, we'll call it that, right? Those people, not the gays, but the Republicans,
people who are against it,
yeah, think that you're a breeder. They don't think so. So their thought of you, the way you think of Trump, is that you feel like we should let kids come out of the womb and start teaching them this is a rainbow flag. We should wrap them in a rainbow blanket. We should, if it's a boy, we should give him a dildo and say, hey, this is what you do at 4, right? Like, this is how they perceive you. I'm not saying that's the reality of it. I'm not, but this is the extreme that Republicans go to feel about Democrats. I'll give you an example. I saw a video the other day, and it's all over the internet. I'm sure you guys saw it. It's the father who walked into the classroom and his son had a dress on, and he's like, don't ever let, do me a favor, don't ever let my son put it to the teachers. Don't ever let my son put a dress on again. They were playing dress up or some shit, right? And that's fine. You can be against it as a father. I'm okay with that. It's the mark at the bottom that says the Democratic agenda. This is the Democratic agenda, right?
Mm-hmm.
To make it feel that way. I feel like they have the exact same feel towards you as you have towards them.
So I think that there's some truth in what you said, but I think that part of the difference is that some of that feeling that they have towards people like me or people who think like me is not based in reality, right? And what I mean is that, like you said, when you talked about the extremes of, kid comes out of the room, we're gonna, gay flag, here's some dildos, here's how you use anal lube and all that kind of shit like that, right? Where that's not what's happening, and when we talk about these conversations that are happening, in schools or classrooms, what was happening previously was simply, where a kid may have a question, they have a day in your kid's second grade class where they talk about families, and they tell them, draw a picture of your family or something. Your kid draws a stick figure of a mom and a stick figure of a dad and then a stick figure of them and their brother, sister, whatever. And then the teacher may have drawn a thing of their own family or maybe brought in an actual picture. And the kid may say, my dad has a wife or my mom has a husband. How come you don't have a husband? And they respond with something like, oh, I'm married to a lady or married to a guy or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And it's kind of like that, right? Whereas these folks have taken it to the extreme of same example that I just gave, and a teacher says, "Oh yeah, I'm married to a guy. I'm gay," and that brings me to my next lesson of the right amount of lube to use when doing homosexual intercourse. You know what I'm saying? And that's just not what's happening in school. You used to hear that story about like, oh, the kid said he wanted to be a cat, so the teacher brought in a litter box, which is a complete bullshit made up story. You know what I mean? And so we can argue about these things. EJ and I do it all the time. You and I do it all the time, right? But I feel like we mostly do this stuff when you're, meaning you, Steve, aren't trying to be like sensational about it. You know what I mean? We're doing it from a place of what we truly believe and things that are actual facts. You know what I mean? You guys may not agree with where I stand on the issue. I may not agree with where you stand on the issue, but we argue with each other with respect and from a place of actual fact. Whereas a lot of those folks will bring up bullshit to the conversation. And it's like, first, we have to debate what's actually real and what's not. We have to essentially debate reality before we can debate the actual issue,
Got you. I just feel like,
I
a kid should never.
I disagree in the sense that we see instances, right, where extreme things happen on both sides. The problem is there's an omittance or a lack of admission when it happens on the left side. So maybe it's not, and let me know if y'all can hear me. Maybe it's not that the teacher is trying to force feed gay agendas, right? But we often will see gay people who are liberal in public screaming, shouting, not allowing someone to express their views because it goes against their gay views and they're liberal. So again, somebody on the right can see that and say this is cult-like January 6th behavior. And the problem is neither party wants to admit when it's fucking wrong. That's the problem that I think me and Steve have. And I mean, again, you responding, but let's stay where I'm at. It's wrong on one side, it's wrong on the other side. Just because we don't see it when we don't want to see it, just because we don't filter our algorithms to see it, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And the problem, again, that me and Steve often have, being in the middle of things a lot of times, one party gets to villainize the other and the other one villainizes the other, and no one sees how they're both fucked up.
So I don't think that you're necessarily wrong, right? And what I
know
would
I'm not.
say, what I was what I would say to you is that some of these issues that you're talking about is not necessarily a party thing, right? And let me give an example of what I mean.
No, I can't do it. I can't do it because again, we could say the same thing about the right. There are people on the right that this isn't a party thing. They're just racist. They're just this. They're just that. The only problem is Democrats will take it and they'll say, "See, this is what we did." And then when there's some Democrat bullshit going on, oh, it isn't exactly representative of this and that. Like, come on, man. This is exactly what Steve is talking about. The same way the person on the right can defend their party's action tooth and nail by finding little loopholes and nuances, it's the same fucking thing. This is how somebody can look at the left and hear you shoot them bail and say the same thing. It's the same thing.
So, all right, I got you. So I'm gonna go in and finish now, right? So so what I was getting ready to say here is that there are differences, right? So for the example of the woman that you were talking about, who was shouting at the guy on the street, who was like just yelling at the top of her lungs. I think it was like 2-3 weeks ago, or I don't know when it happened. I saw the video like 2-3 weeks ago.
That's one example.
No, I'm getting ready to juxtapose that with a different example.
I mean, to harp on it. It's one example.
Right, EJ. Let me round third base, man. Let me
no, because you know.
You get to your initial dissent, and EJ is like,
no, because he'll hijack this thing to do the very same thing and prove my point. We don't need to sit here and let you be Johnny Cochran for the Democrats. That's essentially what you do.
So basically, so EJ just saying, yo, if someone don't agree with you, don't call him homophobic. That's what EJ's saying.
Right. But the point that I'm making is that there are some issues that are party issues and some that are individual issues, right? And so like that woman that he's talking about who was yelling at the guy that on the side of the street or whatever, this chick's crazy, you know, I don't support anything like that or whatever, right? However, you look in California, for example, and there's a Congress, or not a congresswoman, but a state rep who is, I don't know if they passed this or she's trying to get it passed, a bill that essentially says that if a parent doesn't agree with a child's gender identity, that courts should factor that into the decision of custody when parents are going through custody battles, right? And I saw that and I'm like, whoa, what the fuck? You know what I mean? And you know, to me,
but again, to you, that sounds bad. But somebody on the other side, right? They may have genuine reasons outside of it just being a gay thing to kind of that way. They might have considerations to say, you know what, children, and there might be research out there, we don't know. But again, just because we don't think it's feasible or it's fathomable doesn't mean it's such an outrageous, outlandish thing. It doesn't. People are entitled to feel the way they feel and push back on what they want to push back on.
So so you didn't let me finish. So yeah, I think
I know I'm just interjecting because it's there. I don't need to hear the whole thing.
No, but the point that I'm making is that this wasn't some Republican who introduced it. This was a Democrat who said, if you don't respect your kid's gender identity, that should be used as a factor in custody hearings to say that you shouldn't have the child if you and the child's other parent are splitting up or whatever. And I am saying that's fucking crazy to me. Other Democrats have said, no, we can't do that or whatever. Like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? So something like that is the point that I'm making, is saying like that's a party issue. One single woman standing on the side of the road yelling at one single guy is not something that the party has to come out and say, we condemn this or whatever. You know what I
mean? Yeah, again, I see where you're going. I see where you're going.
Again, for me, he's turned it into a political argument when the overall premise wasn't about somebody in a political seat. It was the people on that side and the people on this side. Like,
I think we have a lot to learn in this country.
Being Johnny Cochran.
I think we have a lot to learn in this country about allowing people to be free thinkers, and not even free thinkers, just have their own opinions. Because to the Republican, Vari is a breeder. Vari is a breeder. He wants everyone to be gay. To the Democrats, Trump supporters, DeSantis supporters are racist piece of shits. They hate black people. They hate black culture. They hate black history. And I just think the reality of it is, on both sides, that is not true. Like, clearly, you can be a Democrat, and I mean, there's Democrats out there that don't support all the excessive, you know, lobbying for gay rights, right?
Yeah,
Do we
true enough.
feel like they should have, that they're people, they're humans, right? They deserve the same rights as everyone else, but um, sometimes it just seems like the fight for those rights are more than the fight for others' rights, black people.
But right, but Steve, I think that the difference is when we talk about this kind of stuff, right? When you talk about racism, for example, when people say, Republicans are racist, right? Not all Republicans are racist, right? We know that. I know I say, well, you vote for Trump, you probably racist. I get I say that, but I understand that not all Republicans are racist, right? But at the same time, right, the people who are in office, they're banning books. And they're not just banning books that say, oh, well, I don't agree with such. It seems like the vast majority of books that they ban either deal with gay rights or teaching of Black history. And it's not like, oh, it's happening in this one state. Those guys are just super fringe. So, it's nothing to see here overall. Everything is still all good or whatever. Every single red state that we see are essentially banning Black history. In states like Florida, for example, we see them put in the curriculum to teach that history had advantages for Black people because, while they were in bondage and being, raped and having their kids stolen from them and families separated from their history, separated from their culture, their traditions, and all these things like that, this person learned how to be a blacksmith. So, I mean, that's a net positive.
You know what I mean? Running around
and so when I say stuff like, Republicans are racist, it's shit like this is that I'm talking about or whatever. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily about what you say. Sometimes it's about what you do.
But that doesn't. But here's the thing: you can be a Republican and not support that.
And I believe that this is exact, Steve. I'm exactly with you. It's getting back to the original point when he says anyone who supports Trump, I have to think they're racist adjacent. No, maybe they're not, because there are Black people that support Trump.
So to me, I think it's a bigger issue, right? I don't want to target. I know it sounds like we're targeting you directly, VP, but it's more of in general. When I'm saying it, I'm saying on both sides. I'm saying the people in this nation have got to just do. We just have to do better. Like, we can't initially, and I caught myself doing it yesterday. I'm scrolling through somebody's story, Instagram story, and it's a female, and she's like, oh, I'm on vacation, I'm staying at my friend's house, and then she takes a picture in her friend's garage, and then in the background I see a Trump 2020 flag, and I'm immediately about to hit her up and be like, oh, you fucking with racists. You know what I'm saying? And then I thought to myself, like, what am I doing? Like, where have I allowed Vari to get me? But and then she takes a picture. I won't even take the other picture. Vari loses shit if I tell you what but nonetheless, we got 32 minutes of some fun shit we could talk about. We could get into some sports. NBA is coming. We could do that really quick. I think Wemby is the clear-cut rookie of the year if he stays healthy.
Have you played any games yet?
They played a lot of preseason.
He balling in preseason.
Yeah, but I mean, most of the starters don't even play in preseason.
Nah, starters been playing
in preseason. Yeah, they playing.
I'm just saying, they're not playing like heavy. They're not playing like heavy minutes. Like
Phoenix starters played a whole half.
Okay, let's get like 10 games in before we crown this dude, yo. Let's not do that. That's like very college, this team signed this many this many 5-star recruits. They're the number one team in the country. They haven't played a game yet.
We didn't say that he's gonna. I didn't say he's gonna take them to the playoffs or they're gonna win a chip. But based on the talent that he's showing at the NBA level,
you got him in the Hall of Fame already.
Against NBA talent in comparison.
Hey, yo, he just said rookie of the year.
in comparison to the other rookies that have also played in preseason, he looks like it's almost a no-brainer. And here's the thing. I don't even think that he has to do anything outlandish for this to happen. It's just that he's so long. Pause. That he alters your shot, right? And if you're not, actively thinking, as I'm watching these, highlights, and I watched a little bit of the game the other night. If you're not actively thinking, I got to get this thing up, pause again, higher than normal, then it's almost guaranteed to be a block. Like, this guy, he's balling. I have him as rookie of the year. Obviously, we'll revisit it later, but this is why it's called bold takes.
No, I got you, Steve, right? And I get it. But I guess the thing that, like,
hey, let me let you know, nobody on the Heat is winning rookie of the year. I know that's what you want.
No, I'm not going to say that. The thing that kind of like gets me is like when you watch like these shows and stuff, and they'll be talking about like somebody like Josh Allen, right? And you'll hear the person like it might be like SVP on ESPN or something like that. And
yo,
like,
Miami fans are scorned, yo. Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, like,
like
yo, where did this go?
Let me tell you something. Tua better win a Super Bowl the way y'all be talking about him being the best quarterback ever.
It's not about him being the best. Like, this is the point I'm making, right? Like, you'll hear somebody talking about Josh Allen, for example, and you'll hear them when they start describing like whatever it was that Josh Allen did, and they'll say, future Hall of Famer Josh Allen, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, this dude's been in the league 5 years. We're calling him a future Hall of Fame already? Like, if you said that about Mahomes, that's easy. Mahomes got 2 rings already. You got 2 rings, you're going in. We talked about that with Eli. Eli is likely not a Hall of Famer without the rings, But to say that about Josh Allen or a guy like Herbert or whatever, it's just it's too much, man. When you look at a guy like LeBron, Wade, guys like that, right? I would say by the time they got to year 5, 6, you probably like, yeah, that guy's going to the Hall. You know what I mean? But I don't think Josh Allen's done enough to be described as a future Hall of Famer. You know what I'm saying? And it puts this narrative in the head of the everyday folks who watch that this guy is better than he actually is. And so that's why I'm just saying, like, let's pump the brakes for Wemby a little bit. Let's see him play like 10 games, average 42 minutes or something like that before we start saying, this guy's gonna be rookie of the year. And I got him going down as probably the number 3 big man in NBA history.
Wait, is this the same guy that said after one summer league game that he's going to be a bust because he had like 12 points and it wasn't that great? Is this the guy that's saying that we should give him, 10 regular season games or no?
First of all, it wasn't one summer league game. It actually was the first summer league game. So let's be more extreme with what I said.
Okay.
Right. But 2,
his first ever NBA experience.
And let me ask you this. Let me ask you this.
Waste of a pick.
Let me ask both of y'all. I didn't say waste of a pick. Let me ask both of y'all this. What did I say after that?
I don't know. What did you say?
I don't know.
I said Wemby is not your average NBA rookie where he's coming straight out of college. Wemby was a professional in France. He's not some guy that was playing at Duke and now he's in the NBA.
18.
He was a pro. He was already a pro over there playing against pro athletes. But is the competition the same?
Pro French athletes. Pro French NBA players.
I just said, is the competition the same? No. But the have the kind of outing he had that first night out was kind of like, damn, I expected more. Now he's shown us more, sure, but he's shown us more in a sparingly amount of time. Let's watch a few games. Let's get 7, 8, 10 games under the belt, and then we can say, yo.
But you judged him off of 8 minutes of play.
Right. That was called a take. Me being crazy,
Got you. You get first takes. I don't. All right, Stephen A. Bars. See what I did there? Got him.
Oh man.
I saw somebody say AD. There was a post, not a post, but there was a report that came out. AD says that he wants to play all 82 games this season. What's the over under on that?
I want to start dating Beyonce, but it's probably not going to happen.
How much money would you put on Anthony Davis playing every single game this year?
Like it happening, or like taking the under?
No, it happening.
I would put no money on it.
You think there's any percentage that could happen? Either one of you guys?
I mean, statistically,
outside of I'll say outside of rest. Like, let's take rest out of it. Let's just say
statistically, we have to assume that it's possible because he's currently an alive person and in the NBA. So there's a statistical chance that it can happen, but
so it is almost at least 1%, right?
Right. It is, but it's almost a certainty that it's not going to happen, even taking rest out of it, based on history. That's like,
I mean, is he saying he wants to play in the games, or he's going to start and finish them?
He said play. Well, at least that's how it was put by the media. But nonetheless, you still got listen. Even if you don't finish, you still got to listen, man. We've seen his.
He's not gonna play in all 82 games. It's just not gonna happen. That's like I know we're on sports, but let me just back up a quick second to politics. Not going deep on it. But people are talking about, oh, the Republicans are gonna get with and make Hakeem Jeffrey speaker, and I'm like, technically that could happen. You know what I mean? Technically, I could start dating Beyonce. We're both human. We're both alive at the same time, but it's not gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? AD's not playing all 82 games. This is just not gonna happen.
Before I bet, I just need to know what the line is. Like, does it mean he's gonna start, or is he gonna play a full 45 minutes a game? Because he can get on there and be like, you know what I mean? Game 84, game 79. It's up, and then he sits out. Like, it's not happening.
I don't even think it's gonna be 82 minutes before he misses some time. Like,
right.
AD gotta stop. He gotta stop. I get it. You gotta say stuff like that. You have to.
I don't know any guy around the league that plays 82 games, especially this guy.
This dude probably Michael Jordan checking the mail or something,
I think Michael Jordan did it 5 times, but that's underrated stat. Super underrated stat.
I mean, the best ability is availability. You know what I mean? But we know that that's not a thing for AD. It's just not gonna happen.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch LeBron.
I think the most games he's played is. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I'll pull it. But I think the most games he's ever played is like 65 in his whole career.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch LeBron play this year. I think the dream of playing with Bronny is starting to sunset a little bit from reality. Bronny's not that good. Like, he was good in high school, but the odds of him going to the league, I think if it happens, it's more because a team is trying to do a money grab. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think LeBron,
real quick, Steve, AD, highest games played was in the 2016-2017 season, and the following 17-18 season, he played 75 games in both of those seasons.
That's pretty good. You don't know how many were rest. But so I'm interested to see LeBron. I think he's understanding that his career is coming to an end, and I think we're going to see. He's dropped some weight this year, of course. He's going to have to because bones, his joints, and stuff. So I'm interested in watching him to see how that goes. I like the look of Milwaukee. It's just quick takes for me, so we can try and get to football, and then you guys can give your quick takes on the NBA. And I'm really, really excited to see if Phoenix can stay healthy. I think if Phoenix can stay healthy, that is a tough team. But they do have KD. They do have Bradley Beal. Those guys are just like AD. They're always hurt. But I think what people are underestimating a lot on that Phoenix team is Nurkic. Nurkic, when he is Nurkic, like, dude is a monster. And he's always only had Dame and maybe CJ McCollum. But now you're talking about putting him in there with these 3, superstars. I think Nurkic is going to have a really good season.
My quick NBA take: I don't care until football's done.
For me, man, I mean, obviously, I'm heart versus head, but I think that Milwaukee's going to be a problem in the East. I think Boston's going to be a problem in the East, and
Mm.
I agree with you on Phoenix if they can stay healthy. I don't think LA is going to really be in the conversation, with the exception that they have LeBron, so that'll keep they're in LA, so it'll keep them in the conversation, even though I don't think they're going to be any true threat to anybody. And then Denver, that team is still mostly whole, so you can't count them out either.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. I think, yeah, Denver is definitely someone to watch. You'll get you something different. Speaking of something to watch, we have no more undefeated teams in the NFL, and I think two of the biggest powerhouses in the league in Miami and Philly will be playing this week. So we'll definitely talk about that in the NFL, and we'll talk about NFL talk
tonight,
this evening.
Tonight.
Yep. Okay.
There's actually no good games today. That's the only real good game when you look at the like all the head to head the head to heads. I would say the Miami game and probably the Detroit Baltimore game.
I saw another one that I was really interested in. Isn't it who's Kansas City playing?
They playing Chargers, but I mean, Chargers aren't who we thought they were going to be.
The Chargers,
yeah, it's divisional though. It's divisional.
I always come on here and I always tell you, since the Phillip Rivers days, the Chargers are always going to be the Chargers. They're that dude that's been, talking this shit to this chick all year round, and he finally gets there, and he shoots his load off before the condom gets on.
Whoa! Oh, like American Pie.
Precisely.
I got the Jake. Chargers winning that game today.
49ers Vikings is going to be interesting, I think.
That's tomorrow, right? Monday night?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I just posted the schedule for you, Steve, in chat. We got the bye weeks and everything.
There's a lot of bye weeks this week. I feel bad because I cannot talk shit for the rest of the season about Zach Wilson, no matter what happens, because I vowed last week that if the Jets beat the Eagles, that I would not talk shit about Zach Wilson for the rest of the season, which means there's no more Zach Wilson hate for me on the Jets. But Jets are on a bye this week, so they don't really matter, nor do the Cowboys because they are also on a bye. A few teams that do matter. I don't think, like you said, there's not many big games to really talk about. Some divisional stuff going on. New York and Washington, they're bottom feeders. Atlanta and Tampa Bay, another divisional game. We're gonna see Seattle and the Cardinals, also divisional. Like, it just seems like they were trying to put those things together. Patriots and Bills divisional. They were trying to put. It looks like they were trying to put that together. Kansas City and the Chargers. But these teams are just not panning out. The talent, the way the teams are playing, are not panning out at all. So instead of talking through all of those, let's just talk through the two big ones. The Kansas City and Chargers game. Quick recap. Chargers got smashed last week. Pause. Actually, I didn't get smashed. I'll take that back. The Cowboys beat the Chargers last week. I thought it was a pretty good game. I thought there was a lot of missed calls. I still think Mike McCarthy is a horrible coach. That's my recap on that game. How do you feel about your Jets beating up on the Eagles, EJ, last week?
Well, quietly, the perfect storm started to formulate as things got closer to game time. And as a Jets fan, you became more and more free spirited about the game because DJ Reed, for whatever reason, didn't clear concussion protocol. Then Sauce Gardner out of nowhere has a concussion. So it was like, yo, not only did we just lose our starting right tackle / right all-world guard and Vera Tucker in Denver, now we're going in this game with Max Mitchell, who's our 4th round tackle, who did okay last year, but had a season-ending injury due to some condition no one knew about. So we're like, okay, Jalen doesn't play, Slay doesn't play, thank God. But now it's the Eagles, and it's like we have nothing to lose. We're at home. My expectation goes out the window, and I'm like, we'll mess around and win this game because we don't have a shot in the dark to win this game. And we come out, and defense is, incredible. They come out with 14 points, and on the one touchdown, I mean, the refs were just blatantly trying to get the Eagles to win this game. Jalen Hurts is down by like 3 yards. It's called a no touchdown on the field, and they somehow overturned it without even telling us. Fixes in. Defense comes out. Offense moves down the field. It isn't great, but it gives us position. And in second half, we shut these guys out. And Zach Wilson, although he didn't have a great game and didn't score, he didn't turn the ball over. The one drive where we had a great shot to get in the red zone, he has momentum. The referees call it back on some bullshit call. And it seems like every time this kid makes a play, the referees get involved and it messes things up. But at the end of the day, this team found a way to win, and they got it done, man. And you gotta tip your hat to them. It's a lot of nasty work to it, but we got it done. Thank God we were at home, and thank God this defense is pretty damn good with fourth string cornerbacks that we had off the street, nonetheless. Because not only was our 2 starting cornerbacks out, our 3rd starting cornerback was also out.
I still think you guys have to learn how to run the ball. Not learn how specifically Deshaun Watson's playing today. But they have to learn how to call more running plays. They just get the ball to Breece Hall. I mean, you got Dalvin Cook in there. Let him spare this guy here and there. If he can stumble forward for 3 yards, get these shorter passes for Zach Wilson, it makes life a lot easier. They found a way to get it done last week. The defense played a major part. The Eagles, they were doing everything they could. It's not like, it's not. One thing I could say is watching that game, it's not one of those games where you could go in and say they beat themselves. They went in there and they got beat by the Jets, and they got beat by a team. To me, it seemed very much like the 49ers losing to Cleveland, the Cowboys losing to Arizona, even Miami losing to Buffalo. I feel like these teams were on highs, such highs. The Cowboys were on a major high. They let the media get to them. They go and they lose to Arizona. San Francisco just came off a mollywhopping the Cowboys. Mollywhopping the team that people were saying was the next best or top 3 team in the NFC with the best defense in the NFC behind them, maybe, right? Mollywhop them, beat the shit out of them, talking shit on the internet, everything. Come in here, they're playing a backup quarterback, no Nick Chubb, you know what I mean? And they just got punched in the mouth. Granted, they lost Deebo Samuel, they lost Christian McCaffrey at some point, but you should have enough in that team with Brandon Ayuk, with George Kittle, with that amazing defense they got to be able to beat Cleveland. And granted, it came down to a missed field goal. And same thing with the Eagles. The Eagles were coming in. They're 5-0 at the time, coming off of what they thought was some big wins. When their season's about to get real crazy right now because they're about to play Miami and they got some really tough games coming up. And I think they underestimated the Jets. The Jets came in and beat the shit out of them. And similarly, I think with Miami, feel like Miami went in there and was like, we can't be stopped. Nobody can keep up with us. We're the fastest people in the world. They can't touch us. And Buffalo found a way to scheme for that speed. And so, yeah, I mean, I think we're seeing Any Given Sunday this year more than ever before, in my opinion.
No, I think you're right, Steve. And 2 things. One, real quick, I just noticed, is that the Buffs jersey?
This is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. I remember you said you were going to get one. Okay, all right. Nice.
I was just waiting for it to come. I guess it was back.
Gotcha. Actually, 3 things. The Buffs jersey.
That shit is dope, though. I seen it, though. That shit is dope. As soon as I saw you had it on, I was kind of hating. I ain't going to say nothing because I didn't get mine.
The other thing is I'm scrolling through my timeline here, and Chief Special Teams coach Dave Taub revealed that their punter Tommy Townsend is dealing with some kind of knee injury, and their backup punter is Patrick Mahomes. And then Shefty posted a video of Mahomes practicing kicks, and I'm like, they out of their fucking mind.
This nigga, if he throws for 4 touchdowns, 400 yards and punts, I'm gonna lose it.
He's not punting. He's listed as the backup, but they'll have their kicker come on, dude.
I was gonna say, if no way in hell
kick that ball,
I would let him
and
punt.
he blows his knee out. Every single one of them coaches is getting fired. Andy Reid is out of there. I don't care who you are, you getting fired if that happens. Ain't no way they're gonna let that come out there and kick that ball.
No way in hell I would let him punt.
I'd go for it on 4th and 50 from my 1 yard line before I let him come out there and punt
it.
I'll take that L.
Exactly.
They're going for it every time. Got to.
Yeah.
He's gonna have like 500 yards today.
Yeah. But 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 the way the media is, man, if Mahomes throws 400 yards and he gets off a punt, they're gonna say you gotta change the logo to him.
Bro. All he do is if he make one punt, oh my God, Collinsworth. We'll never hear the end of it.
Kyle Hurd, Nick Wright, But the third point I was gonna make real quick, Steve,
VP
is, on your don't fret over your Zach Wilson slander. I got you covered because the dude is still ass. He's never gonna be any good. So
he's good. No, he's getting better.
Yo,
it's my joke.
But getting back to
the game.
I'm
to the game. For the Eagles, I think Steve's point is spot on, man. I think that they got caught looking ahead. We just got to make sure we're ready for Miami. Jets going to be a cakewalk, all that kind of shit like that. And they ended up getting beat, And that game was very important because if you look at their schedule, they got Dolphins, Commanders, Dallas, Chiefs, Bills, 49ers, Dallas again, Seahawks, Giants, Cardinals, and then Giants, So they're getting ready to go through like a fucking slog fest, basically. Yeah. So that game was huge, especially given that we don't know what's going to happen today. I hope that we win today against them or whatever. So you could potentially lose against the Jets, potentially lose against the Dolphins, and then you play a division opponent, the Commanders, and then you got to go through this gauntlet, of those teams that I just named, and who knows how you come out of that,
Go Dolphins. Go Dolphins.
So going back to Steve, your point about us knowing how to run, I think a lot of people don't realize, right? We have a offensive coordinator that just came in, never anticipating that Zach Wilson would be the starting quarterback. Plus, we continue to go through a litany of injuries on our O-line. Like everyone, complains when it happens with them. This has been a thing for us 2 years in a row. Elijah Vera Tucker goes out again now with an Achilles. Last year was like a pec. And then we just lost our rookie starting guard, Joe Tippmann. Don't know for how long. And I think the one thing I can say about this team, I'm happy with the resiliency. And again, with the Eagles, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. They didn't do anything to us in that game that showed that they were 5-0. Granted, Jalen Carter was not playing, what I think would have made a huge difference. I don't know that Darius Slay would have made such a difference versus Garrett Wilson, because I don't really watch Slay that much. I know he's been hailed as one of the better quarterbacks of the league. But again, offensively, it did nothing with us. A.J. Brown was going against a 4th string cornerback. And he had a day. Granted, he had a catch again that looked super questionable. Referees just was okay with it. Fine. They didn't go back to the well with him again because why? Second half, Jalen Hurts is who I always said he was. When the moment was on the line and he felt pressure, he felt
just
footsteps. No, I mean, I try to leave you out of it because you got NFC East. I try to leave you out of it. Yeah, you got NFC East bias, but I've said this since he was at Alabama. This dude started feeling pressure. Devontae Smith drops left and right. And then the one time that they did run, they only ran 14 times to throwing the ball 46 times. And the one run that they did have with the kid,
Eagles?
Yeah. The one run that they did have with the kid Swift, he fumbled. So, I mean, our defense, like, we just punched these dudes in the mouth and they didn't do anything about it. And Zach Wilson, call him what you want, he didn't turn the ball over. And again, when he did have a pivotal drive to where he throws to Garrett Wilson, it's 30 yards, 40 yards into the red zone, the referees call it back on some bullshit call on Allen Lazard getting a block. And I mean, so again, I hear you. I don't think that they so much lost to us. I think that they may not be as good as we think they are. You remove Jalen Carter and you remove Darius Slay. They and Nick Sirianni, I don't know what game plan he's on, but they're up 14. They're up 14, what, 6 or 9 with a minute and something left, and it's 3rd and like 6. And instead of running the ball and running the clock out and maybe punting it to us and making us go the length of the field, they decide, no, we're gonna show you we're better than you. We're gonna show you that this has been a fluke, and we're gonna throw it and then demoralize you. And guess what? Jalen Hurts gets picked off by Tony Adams. Game has changed.
Ego. I said it after that. I said it after that game. The biggest thing that Eagles team is missing is those coordinators on both sides. They lost both of their coordinators, and you can see it. You can see it. I mean, they got the same talent, if not more. I think they have more talent this year when you look at it overall than they had last year, because they added such good young talent out of the draft, right? They're missing the guys that can actually scheme for this shit. And Sirianni doesn't seem like he knows what's going on there. Similarly to Mike McCarthy. For me, when I'm watching Mike McCarthy and I watch our defense, I feel like he don't know what's going on with the defense. Rightfully so. He's letting, the coordinator do the job, but I don't think he has any clue because he's spending so much time with the offense, which I think he has to because now he wants to be the play caller. Right. And I think similarly, it's probably like that in Miami as well. When you're the play caller and the head coach, you have to spend X amount of time, that much more time with the offense. So you have to really, really put the trust in your defensive coordinator, to be able to get it done. I will say about the Jets before, I stop Dickey and them, pause, is the defense looks so much better. I don't think it's a fluke. I don't think it's because the season's gotten older. I think it's because you have Robert Saleh, who was like, you know what? I'm a defensive coordinator by trade. I made that San Francisco defense look like it is. That's what got me my job. Let me go spend some time with the defense. And since I feel, and this is me personally, since I feel like he may have started doing that, I feel like that defense has woken up, and they've been good on paper, but now we're actually seeing, their potential, and we're seeing different things out of them.
No, I think
it could be. I think it's a personnel. I think Joe Douglas, when you look at our front seven, I think Joe Douglas really invested in them. But at the same time, I'm kind of pissed off as a fan because on the other side of the ball, you were heralded as this offensive line guy, and we don't have, like, we were banking on old ass Dwayne Brown. We're losing guys week after week, and we don't really have, what we need to supplement. So
to protect,
I don't know,
guys.
man. Yeah, this
rush to the ball
this bye week came at a perfect time, man. But enough of that. Tonight's game is in Philly. I tell you what, man, VP can say what he wants about Zach Wilson. Listen, just you better pray the football gods do not injure Tua Tagovailoa, because Mikey White coming in is not what you want, son.
No, I mean, I think, we obviously worry about, Tua's health. That's been the main thing on the negative side of his, progression as a pro, or even as an athlete, period, not just a pro. But, he seems that he's been hit this year, and he's been, I've seen a couple videos where the camera stayed on him, and you can see him like doing, like, where the jiu-jitsu, I guess, kind of came into play with him moving a certain way when he gets on the ground and stuff like that once he gets hit. So,
he's landing.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about Tua's health. I know it sounds crazy coming from me, but as I'm watching the Miami team, and you guys can keep me honest as you're watching it as well, he always seems to have a hot route. He always seems to have that quick out to the wide receiver or the running back that's available on passing plays so that he doesn't have to hold the ball too long. And I don't think that's coincidence. I think that's Miami protecting
It's
him.
designed that way.
Yeah.
It's designed, and it's a lot of motion, and then it's designed for quick releases to not allow the defense to get set. So
what's your guys' prediction for tonight?
I mean, for me, I got Miami winning, obviously. I think it'll be close. I don't think it's going to be any kind of blowout or nothing like that. Also, I had EJ put a bet in for me. I took the over on points, 51.5. I took the over, so I think we're going to have a high scoring game. Yeah, I think the Dolphins win in a tough battle, basically a shootout, essentially.
EJ,
I tell you what, I know what I want to happen. I want the Eagles to win, obviously, because we beat them, and that would help us as a team. I don't know how good they really are, in my opinion. Now, if Jalen Carter and Darius Slay play, I think you're gonna have a totally different ball game.
I didn't see them on the initial injury report.
I got the injury report right here.
Yeah.
1 second here. Let me pull it up.
And Hassan Reddick and Barnett, they might give your offensive tackles some trouble as well. So I'm interested to see that. It's going to be a cold night in Philly, and that's a hostile place to play on the Sunday night in late October.
So for the Eagles, EJ safety Reed Blankenship is out.
Yeah, he's
and
trash.
Bradley Robbie is out, and then
cornerback.
Yeah, cornerback.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then that's basically it. They got some guys who are injury reserve and stuff. But who were the people you were wondering about?
I was worrying about Darius Slay and Jalen Carter. So they're
not on this report.
Yeah, they were definitely missed last week. Blankenship being out was probably better for them because Tyreek is just going to run right past him at safety. I don't know, man. I really can't call it. I'm really just a fan tonight watching this game. Like, I want y'all to lose, but I don't know that y'all gonna lose. I believe it's gonna be close too. I don't know how good y'all defense is, so that's the one question I also have as well. I don't know how good y'all defense is.
It's not good. So that worries me. Our defense, but the thing that worries me more is our offensive line. Our offensive line is banged up, and then they already weren't that good, and they're banged up now. And we're playing against a really good front four, and that was the problem in Buffalo. Was that Buffalo got a lot of pressure on Tua. Tua's taken 7 sacks this year, and I think 4 of them came in that Buffalo game. So yeah, they had times where we had 6 guys going against 4, and they still were getting to Tua. You know what I mean? And
that could be a problem tonight because that Eagles pass rush can get to it when they're getting to it. Right?
Exactly, and that's why I think he needs to get. Even though the offense is designed to get the ball out quick, I think they have to be even that much quicker. Just because this front four is legit, and if we were giving up that kind of pressure against Buffalo rushing 4. These guys are definitely going to be coming with it, and so we gotta be on our P's and Q's.
Yeah, Jalen Carter last week really hurt them because what we would have typically done was probably double team him, and then have a problem. But shout out to Mekhi Becton. He did what he wanted to do against Hassan Reddick and Barnett. Shout out to Mekhi Becton. Hopefully he's healthy. If not, call our season done. So Jalen Carter being back, I think is going to be a huge problem for y'all. I think it's going to be a close game as well. I think Jalen Hurts is going to come out with a chip on his shoulder, especially being that he's going against Tua. So it's a battle of the Alabama boys again. I'm just gonna have to say my Miami hate makes me pick Philly. I don't know that they're gonna win, but I gotta keep it hater player.
The Dolphins have to continue to run the ball outside. And the reason they got to continue to run the ball outside is they got to keep those defensive ends honest. Because if they can get downhill every time and not have to worry about having, to account for that outside run, then Tua's in trouble and you guys are in trouble. But you guys have the speed to be able to get that edge and make these guys kind of think instead of just going hard at the at the quarterback. So I think that's huge. You got to use Mostert and use his speed there. Obviously, Tyreek, get him into space, which I think is absolutely possible because even though the Eagles have good corners, their corners are a little bit aged, right? When we talk about Darius Slay, he's old, right? Mm-hmm. He ain't got that. He don't got that cheetah speed. So I think they try to stay honest on him, and maybe they put safety help over the top, which I think is going to open up some space for Waddle. Depending on how you set him up under, maybe on some crossing routes and stuff like that. So, I got Miami winning this game. If I'm Philly though, and I want to win this game, I got to get DeAndre Swift. To your point, EJ, DeAndre Swift has to have more than 14 touches between him, Gainwell, and anybody else they got in that backfield, because you can try to keep. You've never really thought of Tua this way, but maybe it's time to start thinking of keeping this guy off the field, like they say about Joe Burrow, like they say about Tom Brady when he was in the Josh Allen's, keeping these guys off the field. That might be in your best interest, keeping that defense on the field, running at them. They don't have the best run defense. You guys, Miami, you guys struggle mightily with the run. And so maybe that's the blueprint to beat these guys. But I do think, and this is not even NFC East hate, I just feel like Miami is the better team tonight. Off of what we've seen from Philly, to your point, EJ, that defense is giving up a lot of points to every team they play. And when I say a lot, 17 is a lot. I think that might be the lowest they've given up this year is 17 points. And they haven't played any monsters like Miami. They haven't played their Dallas games yet. They haven't played the Buffalo game, right? So the defense isn't as good as what it looks like on paper, or maybe it is, and it's just, the coordinators can't get it done. But I have Miami winning this game. The 51 is a fairly big number. I'm kind of scared of it on the over, but I could see a path to getting there. Because I feel like it could be like a 35-17 game, right? Which puts you just over 51. And obviously that's probably what Vegas is thinking too.
And real quick on all the reports about Belichick maybe getting fired this year, Rappaport and Shefty just reported that this past offseason he quietly signed a multi-year lucrative contract extension before the season
Hogwash.
started. So.
Hogwash. Poppycock.
Listen, him and Nick Saban are gonna coach till they're in their 80s.
Right, my boy.
No.
Listen, Belichick. The only way Belichick is getting out of New England is if he leaves. They are not firing that guy. Not after what he brought to that. Regardless, you could say, you could say today. It's just like the Popoviches. You could say they had the talent. You could say he had Tom Brady. You could say whatever you want. Belichick ain't leaving unless he decides to leave.
Yeah, which unfortunately may not come voluntarily at this point. Like the dude's 70, I think he's like 74, something like that. He's up there.
It's Andy Reid. Andy Reid, Kansas City. He's not leaving Kansas City unless he leaves Kansas City. They could go 0-16, 0-17. They're not firing that guy with Patrick Mahomes in there. They're not firing him. They're not.
Nah.
It's too much success in too short of a span of time.
I want to say for the record, I believe Miami's going to win. I just hope they don't.
Yeah,
I believe they're going to win. I just hope they don't.
Yeah. I don't think we have time for bingeables, but I will say Billy the Kid. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's on.
I started watching it, but I stopped.
I'm gonna watch it. It looks really good. It's on Paramount, MGM. I know it doesn't matter to you what it's on. because you can see it. But it's I'm gonna start watching it. It looks good.
Yeah, I started watching the first episode. I actually watched like 75% of the first episode, and then I stopped. I got distracted, so I might go back to it. But I've been watching.
Oh, and I want to see that Mirrors Flower shit. The shit and the DiCaprio and De Niro.
Oh, the new
Killers
movie?
of Killers of Flower Moon. Oh, I'm seeing that. Oh, I'm seeing that before next pod.
It's long though. It's a long movie though.
Hey yo,
it's like 3 hours or something like that.
So you're telling me I need to get a large popcorn? That's what you're saying.
Take it easy on the spread.
Yeah, I haven't watched anything at all. Just the normal stuff. I will say I posted in the chat. I don't know if you guys had a chance to look at it. You know how they for Sunday Night Football they do the interviews or whatever. So they did an interview with two. It's like a 20-minute interview, and the main takeaway from that interview is that Flores fucked this kid up, yo. Like, I mean, I liked Flores, yo. Like when you watch the interview, like he talks about like some of the differences. He doesn't.
Yo, this shit is long as fuck.
He don't call Flores out by name or anything, but he talks about like how, you know, like he couldn't be himself, and he was saying like, you know, like when McDaniel first got there, he was like they'd be in the quarterback room, and McDaniel might make a joke, and he was like he wouldn't laugh at it because you know he was kind of taught you're not supposed to laugh, you got to be serious, you know, and like just like stuff like Flores fucked this kid up, yo.
That's possibly true, man. It's possibly true. You know, Flores is a tough, old school type dude. You know, he probably didn't respect Tua in the first place. You know what I mean?
It's not just that. I think that this person when I was in the Marines told me that this I've lived by this since I heard it when he said it to me. He said that your leadership style is kind of a stew of your own personal leadership stuff and then traits that you pick up from other leaders throughout your career. Take a little bit of this, a little bit of that, you mix it all together and it kind of makes, you know, leadership pie kind of, you know. And unlike most coaches who spend time everywhere before they get their head coaching job, Flores spent his entire career under Belichick. And so he has his own leadership style and then what he got from Belichick, you know. And it seems like that wasn't the right fit for Tua and shit. I mean, Mac Jones comes from Alabama. Maybe that might be what's going on. I mean, Mac Jones sucks too, but you know, that might be what's going on with him.
To Belichick's credit though, and everything you've ever kind of heard about him, he actually supposedly by the players that tell it, he jokes more often than he doesn't. And you know, they always said like Tom Brady was a funny ass personality. We just didn't know. I think like we just don't know it. I think what Flores is Flores, because when you just he is where he comes from, plus he's a New Yorker. Like we're not the easiest people to fucking deal with. And you got fucking Tua here. He's probably looking at this dude and the way he's talking. He's like, yo, fuck this dude. You know what I mean? Like I could see that happening from Flores. Like personally, I could look at him and see that like exuding through him. You know what I mean? It's that I can see it. I can see him just being that guy.
3.5 hours is that movie, yo.
I told you. Flores probably like that black father, yo.
Remind me to get a large.
I got a
large popcorn.
Daddy. I got an A+ daddy.
Large popcorn. I'm gonna bring a bag with me, and then right before the previews are over, I'm gonna go get my large refill.
He reminds me of that black father on your block that just, you know, never satisfied with shit. Like I don't know, but yeah. But Steve,
Flores like the blitz.
Yeah. Who's he? Where's he at now again?
Minnesota.
Oh,
Minnesota.
They about to get their ass.
He was at Pitt. He was the linebackers coach at Pitt, and then Minnesota hired him as defensive coordinator.
Oh shit! I didn't even know he became coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
No Justin Jefferson. Oh yeah, wrap it up.
Yeah,
Jesus. Wrap it up.
Yeah.
All right, man. 2 hours and a quarter. VP.
Take us home.
Hey, yo, like every week we always say, you know, make a phone call, send a text, you know, etc. And definitely do that, man. This week I've talked on the podcast before. me and my father, we aren't like super close, but just found out this dude got cancer, man. So stage 1, they caught it early, but still, so my brother hit me up. He was like, yo, I guess he's not gonna listen to the podcast, but my brother's like, yo, we're gonna be throwing a surprise party. You should come, blah blah. And I was like, oh, we'll see. And then he told me about that. I was like, all right, I'll be down there. I'm coming. So like I said that to basically say, reach out to your people, man. Text, phone call, whatever, 5 minutes, one sentence, whatever. You know what I mean? Just check on folks and see how they're doing. You never know what's going on with anybody. Tomorrow's not promised to no one. So, check on your people. With that said, man, we definitely appreciate everybody for rocking with us on this week's episode of the Castworthy Podcast. For anybody who listen live, we appreciate you taking time out of your Sunday morning to rock with us. For the folks who will listen once the podcast posts, we definitely appreciate you taking that time as well. You can find the podcast on all podcasting platforms by searching at Castworthy. You also can find us on any social media by searching at Castworthy. On Instagram, it's at Castworthy_podcast. While you're there, you can leave a like, subscribe, share, follow, tell a friend, help us grow the audience. We very much appreciate it. And with that said, man, we will see you guys on the next week's episode of the Castworthy Podcast. We out. We love you. Peace.